Okay, we're starting in the next 2 minutes. Can we just get Bonang to come this side and his child? Wait, that Bonang. What is he doing? As of that interview. Okay, we'll have to start, guys. Okay. Billy? Badele? Okay. Tony, you can come this side. Yeah. He will join us, don't stress, because remember, you're still going to do the... No, it's fine. Okay, good. Should we then stretch it for 2 minutes? Okay, 2 minutes, okay. All right, good. Hi, Bilisto. My maestro. How are you, maestro? Okay. Oh, he's here. Oh, no, he's here. Just tell Tony he's here. Hi, Prof. Kevin. Hi, my friend.
I was with NSPLA trying to do an interview, and I'm not even sober.
We're going live now at the Bonang. We're going live on SABC, SAfm. Okay, are we ready? All right. 1, 2, 3, start. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Simpio Masiza. I'm the founder and the CEO of EmpowerWorks. Within EmpowerWorks, we have a number of assets or platforms or entities, and we focus on the number of audiences. If I could use that word, we have a program that we run. We call Empower Youth. It's one of the biggest platforms in the country where we create opportunities, for young people in terms of employment, mentorship, funding, and coaching. As I said, we create unprecedented opportunities, for young people. To know more about Empower Youth, you could visit our platform. It's called Empower Youth, EMPOYW. Okay, Empower Youth. Why am I for EMPOWA youth.co.za. I just want to maybe come in. Let me introduce you to the team. Empower Youth, up to date, we have impacted close to 200,000 young people. Mbalish is the head of Empower Youth Week. We're starting a new campaign from next year. Our target is to impact up to 200,000 young people. We're starting in the Val, when Tate Bonang is the chair of SAfm. We will be starting from that side. She's the one who's heading Empower Youth. Thank you, Barrister. And then, thank you so much. We also have Empower Women. As I said, it's also one of the biggest platforms where we provide opportunities, mentorship, and ability for women at a senior level to cross-pollinate. We run a number of programs where we're focusing on various industries, women in youth, women on boards. We've been running women on boards now for almost a year, where we're allowing women that have aspirations to serve on various boards, to cross-pollinate with women who are currently serving on various boards. We run that with the former chair of Deloitte, Delia Ndlovu. And we also have Empower Men, biggest platform that we run, where we're connecting men with other men, and we discuss issues that are affecting men, from identity, mental health, future, spirituality, all areas, including GBV. Last year we hosted up to 2,500 men at Mosaic Theatre. Even here, we've been hosting a number of men-related conversations. We also have a platform called Empower Entrepreneurs, where we're connecting ideas to capital. We are hosted the biggest funding summit this year, where we had up to 200 funders in one room, close to $500 billion in one room with 1,000 entrepreneurs. It's one of the biggest platforms that we run. Our wish is to replicate that platform throughout the continent. The last one that that we have. It's Empower Growth, which is more like a leadership, management, and a governance development program. But today, we are not here because of Empower Works. We are here because we are hosted by one of our entities called the SAfm. The SAfm is one of the biggest, speakers bureau or talent management agents in the country, if not in the continent. We manage some of the biggest, brands or human brands, and we had an opportunity also to have Prof Bonang as part of our portfolio, one of the leading, thinkers in the country, in the continent, and we have decided, to host these conversations where we bring thought leaders in different industries, who just released a book, but also to expand, immensely in terms of what are their thoughts with regards to leadership in general. And we have an opportunity today to be hosting the author of Coming In From the Cold, that Professor Bonang Mohale. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. I'm not going to waste much time. In terms of the program today, as I said, I've taken my time. I do welcome all of you. SABC plus the audience from viewers from the SABC plus platform. We welcome you, all the listeners, SAfm, including those who are joining us on various media or digital platforms. We do welcome you, colleagues. I'll be calling a friend, a colleague, now a business partner, with this platform called the SAfm, Book Round Table. We have partnered with SAfm within the SABC stable. This was made possible with one conversation that I had with Ntete Tony, who's a big boss there. He's the one that manages, SAfm, Radio 2000. He's what we call Fortune Combo Station Business Manager. He will then come and just briefly, talk about this media partnership that they have with the SAfm. Colleagues, my advice that relax. As I said, we are currently live on all the, the media platforms within the within the SAfm, and including the SABC Plus. And Tate Tony, let's give Tate Tony a round of applause as he comes in. We can do better than that. Thank you, Tate Tony.
Thanks, brother. We are all being outdone by Prof here. Yeah. I love the clap of his. It was fantastic. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To our guest of honor, Prof Bonang Mohale, our host, Mr. Masiza, Dennis Chaba, to the EmpowerWorks team. Where's Neo? Neo's around here somewhere. Neo and the team who have been really driving this. I'd like to also acknowledge in absentia our group executive for radio. She was supposed to be here, Umenada Wachela, but she couldn't make it. We also have a couple of our executives who are on their way as well. So we will introduce them as they come along. Our CFO, acting CFO, is on his way to attend this program as well as my team, the SAfm team, who are either at the back or they are around here somewhere, and to all our listeners and viewers who are streaming us live. Today marks an exciting milestone for SAfm as a radio station, as we join hands with the speaker's firm. The Roundtable Conversations as the official media partner for this wonderful and very, very powerful series of conversations. This partnership is really more than a collaboration for us. It's a meeting of minds. It's a meeting of generations anchored in thought and driven by the action, which SAfm is really an extension of. A little story about this, as Mr. Masiza said, this was one conversation that we had. I've known Mr. Masiza for a while, and we've always been meeting at events or in venues, and it's always that, let's have a conversation. You know, when you go to and you meet someone, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. It's been going on for quite a while, and last year we actually had lunch sometime towards the end of last year, and he was sharing with me what he shared right now, all the different plans that they have at EmpowerWorks. And I said to him, when you're ready, please come forth with a proposal and a budget. I think the budget part made him run away, and he didn't come back for a very long time. We speak proposal and budgets at SABC. Anila will tell you, once you bring a proposal, you must come with a budget. And probably like a month or two ago, he then sent me an artwork of a speaker's firm. And I responded back to him, and I said, wow, this is actually fantastic. Because SAfm has a platform called the Leadership Corner, where, very similar, where we engage leaders in society. So I then said to him, let's have a conversation, let's meet up, and let's see what comes of it. The day that we were supposed to meet up, I was attending the PwC Media Outlook presentation. And he said to me, I will come to you where you are, and we'll meet. So after the session, we met, and incidentally, on the same day was Dr. Roel Khoza's session. So he invited me to that session, and I said to him, I actually want to come through to be able to experience it myself beforehand. So I came through, and incidentally, again, one of our board members, Dr. Makopeni, was attending the event as well. And afterwards, we had a conversation. And I said to her, the conversation in that room needs to be heard by the country. There is no reason why that conversation should start and end in this room. So the Monday following that, I had a chat with my team. I asked them to send the proposal. The proposal came through quite very in the early hours of the morning. I called a meeting with my program manager, Andile, who's here, as well as Randy, who's our marketing manager. And I said, guys, this is a property that I certainly want to be part of, and also be able to allow SAfm to carry this content on air. So from that conversation to where we are right now. So very, very pleased that today is the official partnership of us beginning. We are definitely going to carry on with this partnership. And through this partnership, we intend to turn these conversations into national talking points in line with our tagline, leading the conversation that moves us. Because having conversations is one thing, but it doesn't really have to, as I said, end here. Now, if we don't have conversations outside, we're not moving the needle. We're just really listening to ourselves, and we're ticking a box. And that, for me, is the most important thing. So as SAfm, part of this partnership, we are investing quite a lot of money behind it. I'm not going to mention the amount, but it's, you know, the amount it is that we are investing in this property. It's a lot of money through the currency of airtime to host our guests every Tuesday, whether it's authors of the speaker's firm. This past Tuesday, we had Prof Mohale, who was on air on Tuesday. And I actually sent you a text, and I said to him, you sound so good on air, I must whip up a contract to give you a contract to be a presenter on SAfm. Andile, you've got a new presenter who's going to co-host with Tula Sizwe in the morning. You will get that, right, Prof? It happens every Tuesday on SAfm between 8 and 9. So we host all the authors who are going to be engaging the speaker's firm. They invite two guests of their own, and they have conversations, not only about the book, but about themes that come out of the book, which for me is the most important thing. It's not necessarily the book itself, but what themes can we have that come out of that book. We will also broadcast live like we are doing today, where Ernest is broadcasting live from the venue. Prof just had an interview done with him at this point in time, and discussions on our digital platforms, which is very, very important for us. Also, ensuring that this is accessible to our internal stakeholders within the SABC platform as at large, our sister stations, as also as our TV channels as well. As I mentioned, the key thing really is that the conversations held in these rooms make its way outside, and fundamentally we are responsible for that, to ensure that this discussion happens, whether it's boardrooms, taxis, workplaces, carries on and on. So, SABC Plus, we have, where is he? Over the back over there, he's our head of digital and OTT at radio, is Mr. Banele over there. He is the one who made this possible as well for us, so thanks a lot, Bans, for doing that. And so, if we want to engage and do a lot more, Banele is here to do that with us. I think, Mr. Masiza, we're very much committed to expanding this. And as you know, after this, we're still going to have conversations on what we can do as we plan towards an even bigger partnership next year. We look forward to bringing more like-minded media institutions, but also commercial institutions into this. We need commercial partners to be part of this because we want to take this around the country. it can't only end in Joburg. We've got to take it to the Eastern Cape. We've got to take it to Cape Town, the Western Cape. We've got to take it to Mpumalanga, take it everywhere. So we're calling on corporate South Africa, government, to be with us on this journey of empowering South African minds. Again, finally, we want to help shape and really help with the thinking of our nation and ensure that leaders like yourselves and ourselves in this room can take away something and implement in our own spheres of influence. With that said, we are looking forward to walking away with this path with you and very, very excited about it. Thank you very much and looking forward to today's conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can give him another round of applause. Mr. T, thank you so much. Truly, it has been an amazing experience. Just one meeting with Mr. T, the rest is history. In less than 2 weeks, here we are, and this is this kind of leadership that we want, within government, ecosystem, and we appreciate you, Mr. T, for making this, and also to accelerate the process to be where we are now, having this, media partnership. Thank you so much. I'm not going to waste much time. Let me just share in terms of the program. We're going to have Ntate Bonang, Professor Bonang Mohale, just to give a 15 minutes hard-hitting keynote address around, his book. Immediately after then, Ntate Chaba will take over. To those who don't know who's Ntate Chaba, he's a former CMO of McDonald's. He's a former chair of Da Vinci Institute. He chairs a number of boards, but over and above, he is one of our managing executives within the EmpowerWorks entities. And thank you, Ntate Chaba, for being a sounding board, a mentor, and a coach. But over and above, as for being a business partner. We're going to call Ntate Bonang. I've known Ntate Bonang for almost 25 years. At least, yeah. At least. When I started in business during the advent of BE, that was 1996. I used to run a company called Riahona Project Management. I was an MD then, one of the youngest MDs. I think I was 22 years old then when I used to run that. It was during, you remember the split during that time, it was 51% 49, which I was the majority shareholder of the entity, and I happened to meet a number of people, including that thug from Tembisa Pilislikane, the #1 inspirational speaker in the continent, and since then I've known Tate Bonang Mohale, one of the brightest minds of this continent, and we appreciate Tate Bonang. Even when we run these programs for Empower Youth, Empower Women, Empower Men. Actually, last month we hosted 100 men from Orange Farm. And when I spoke to him, I said, "Can you come and give a keynote?" He said, "Masiza, for anything, for you, I'll leave anything. I'll leave whatever that I'm doing and come and give a keynote." We asked, men from Orange Farm to be here to come and join us at EmpowerWorks House, and Tate Bonang was a keynote, speaker. Even when we host Empower Youth, sometimes I'll call him and say, "Look, can one of your entities come in as an anchor partner?" He will pick up a call and phone, some of, his MDs. And Tate Bonang, I really appreciate you. And I want to say today, I appreciate you and I love you. Let's welcome Professor Bonang to come and give us a keynote address. Immediately after then, I will hand over to Ntate Chaba to take over, and then I'll come back and give an announcement. Ntate Bonang Mohale, let's give him a round of applause. We can do much better than that. Ntate Bonang, you can come here. You don't, or you want to sit?
Ha ke ise tlhompho bohle bao e ba tshwanetseng. Ke eme hantle ke re Ntate Masisa. Ke eme hantle mo. I'm a product of the speaker's firm. And I want to start where the big boss ended off, about a proposal. So Adrian God tells a story that he went to the States to do an MBA. When he came back, he sees the founders of the First Rand Group G.T. Ferreira, Lori Deppenar, Paul Harris, and Patrick Goss, that he wants to start a medical aid company. In his own words, he says, they didn't ask him for a business plan. They gave him the money. Together with the members of the RMB bank at that time, as the first customers of his medical aid. The second story I want to tell you is the story of the Bidvest Group Limited, which is ubiquitous. One of the most successful, 38-year-old entity founded by Brian Joffe. He tells a story that he was at Shul in Parktown, and next to him, Stephen Kosef, the CEO of Investec, is sitting. And he whispers in his ear and says, most of these big companies are running away to Perth. There's one I've really identified. I really want to buy it. Stephen Kosef says, shh, we're about to pray. Come and see me in the office on Thursday. He goes to see Stephen Kosef. And as he walks in, he says, how much? He tells him the figure. He pulls out a Montblanc pen, pulls out the check and writes a check. And he says to him, oh, by the way, go find these companies, because some of them bank with us. So what we'll do is we'll fund them. But we also know the good ones and the not so good ones. So I think as a people with great natural endowments, we need to learn something from these stories. Because today the institutions that are built on our behalf to empower us to create black industrialists, the National Empowerment Fund, the IDC, the CETA, the CFA now merged. When you go and see them, they ask for a business plan. And you don't even know how to write a business plan. They demand collateral. And they can see you are from Orange Farm. And they want securities. The day we are serious about empowering our own, we will learn from how others empowered their own. I was chewing some fat with Ntate Ernest Pillay before I came here. And I said, no, don't worry. They only started to that side. And we're reminiscing about how we used to play music at Easy by Night Club. Yantate Fred Masasani. Ko Katlehu. When all of us have now run away to the suburbs, who's going to be the mentors of our children in the townships? And I said to him, and I want to repeat it in front of you, that if this is your land, where are your stories? And what are your whispers? Because this is the title of his very first book, Professor Emeritus J. Edwards Chamberlain. He was talking about finding the middle ground. But for us, in this time, in this country, when so many of us dare to hope that joy and peace will prevail, if we don't tell our story, it is possible that somebody might tell it in a manner that we may not like. That if we don't think for ourselves, we literally place our future in the hands of others. It is up to us to create our own new world, because history is up to the temporary occupants of the corridors of power. History is always written by the victors, never by the vanquished. So Nkhono says, until and unless lions have their own storytellers, stories about hunting will always glorify the hunt. I ended that story with him by saying, Dr. David Livingstone, today, on his third expedition, enjoys the warmth, the generosity of the Zimbabwean people. They show him Musiwa Tunya. He stands at the precipice of this and he says, this is just too magnificent for words. I'll name it after my queen. Today is still called the Victoria Falls, not Musiwa Tunya. Similarly, with these confluence, the southernmost tip of the Benguela Current and the Galas Current, it's called the Cape of Good Hope. And yet there are people who came before the Dutch, Bartholomew Dias, Vasco da Gama, and they called it the Cape of Great Storms. We still know it as the Cape of Good Hope. We We live in South Africa. We go to towns whose names are the names of the colonizers. That's what prompted, motivated, and inspired me to write my own story, so that when our children ask us, where were we in the 30 years of democracy, where we had an absolute and unfettered majority, we can then tell our story and say, we ran a good race. Because isn't it amazing that in the 30 years of our democracy, the people that made the most amount of money in that 30 years are not the people on whose behalf the freedom was obtained. Only 3 communities made obscene amount of money: the Jewish community, the Afrikaner community, especially the ones that come from Stellenbosch, and the Muslim community, primarily because they've got capital. In their own words, they're saying, if we knew that black liberation was going to be so powerful and so good for us and our back pockets, would have let these blacks free much earlier. So I'm absolutely touched, humbled, and honored that this, my 3rd book, coming in from the cold, it's an African adage, launched at the place of significance this Monday at the Constitution Hill, because we say our Constitution is the best in the world. My 2nd book, Behold the Turtle, is also an African adage, launched at the same place of significance on Wednesday, the 29th of November, 2021, during COVID. It's deliberate, it's intentional, it's purposeful, it's conscious. The very first that I wrote is Lift as You Rise. It's an African adage, which was launched on Wednesday, the 21st of November, 2018, at Exclusive Books in Sandton City. The first 2 about leadership. The second one is about ethically principled leadership, for emphasis. This, I thought, if the first 2 made it on the top 10 bestseller list, maybe, just maybe, the people who bought those books might want to know, who is this township thug, a boy from Katlehu, who was born in Benoni, but did not know Charlize Theron at that time. And I thought, let me tell my story. So when you read the story, it's also different because, yes, it's an autobiography. Most autobiographies says Barack Obama was born here, I grew up, and then I became the president. This one starts by saying, I am the Chancellor of the University of the Free State. I am the professor of practice at the Johannesburg Business School in the Faculty of Business and Economics. That's where it starts. And then it traces backwards. In the middle, it talks about Bonang's role in organized business and leading big business. The Business Leadership South Africa of the top 89 of the 100 companies listed on the JSE. Went on to become the president of the apex organization called BUSA, the only organization that is constitutionally mandated to sit at NEDLAC. Then it goes back and says, oh, this is the young man who spent 33 glorious years on the board of the Black Management Forum. That was his first board position. And then it ends by saying, I was born in Benoni. Ke a leboha hle bakwena. I didn't touch anything. It's not me.
Just do the mic check there. Let's put it on. And just pull it up. It's still moving, move it forward.
Haholo. Thank you very much, Ntate Bonang.
Secha.
Sam with yellow.
Molwana.
It's a pleasure to have you here at the speaker's firm, and thank you for the opening note. For everybody that is in and around the room, this is a highly safe and unsafe space because we are able to have deep conversations, and if you express ideas that have not been thought through, you will be challenged, and it may end in tears. I'm really encouraging you to really think through and stay with the conversation as we go along. We never know where it's going to go. All we know is that we owe it to the audience to be as authentic as possible, as respectful as possible, and as challenging. And it's going to be a critical conversation that we'll have. I am trained to talk at a grade 8 level, having been a spokesperson for a long, long time, so that the majority of people that you communicate to can hear the message. But I can assure you that the conversation will oscillate between grade 8 and up. So don't fear if the conversation is not going to go there. I've been given permission by Ntate Bonang Mohale to ask anything, but it's all about the book. So I'll start right away. And by the way, some of my questions might not necessarily be framed as questions because I'm not a journalist. The first one is a very simple one. I'm afraid that when you tell your story, one might think you can make it when you come out of a township, the world will embrace you, but you are a very clever young man. You are not an average student. You are a very clever, capable young man that also was able to be entrepreneurial with the photography and everything that you did when you were young. How can you start your conversation by talking about the importance of actually being capable before you venture into the world as a start?
Sure. That is Chaba. I'm a fan for many years of you. So thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with me. How can you start? By being capable. You see, when you are in the presence of dignified greatness from the black pool of excellence, ability, capacity, hard work is assumed. It must be assumed. Because our forebears were very hardworking people, they were farmers. That's how they brought us up. Put differently, if wealth is the inevitable outcome of both hard work and enterprise, then every woman in Africa should be a dollar billionaire. So the narrative that most black people are good for nothing, lazy, and they drink the whole day, you and I must puncture that inflated fallacy, because evidence tells us otherwise, especially when one considers that black people are poor not because they are lazy, but because the whole system is designed to ensure that they never lift their head above the parapet. I'll give you one, maybe no more than 2 examples. 31 years into democracy, we have not challenged the spatial apartheid planning, whose intention is to ensure that black people live at least 40 kilometers away from their places of work, which then means it takes on average 40 minutes for them to travel one way and 40 going back. The unintended consequence, maybe it was intended, is that it gobbles up on average 40% of their monthly wages. When you add transport, it swallows 70% of their wages. So by design, the system, it's impossible for the majority of black people to save. So you can't be a minister of finance and stand on the podium and say, no, blacks, you must increase your savings, because I've got personal friends that I live with, I know, love and respect, who say, I wake up every day, I spend all my salary on transport. I say, but then why do you go to work? He says, it's better than my sitting at home and suffering from mental health issues. I would rather go to work and come back and spend all of it on transport. At least I eat there. It's a way of reclaiming my self-worth and my self-respect. So I think, let me end by saying, even in our 30 years of democracy, we have done nothing about the system. Because remember, it's the system that makes you succeed or fail. The system that was given over to white male Afrikaners by the British rested just on 3 pillars. One was, we want a crucible of cheap labor forever. Number 2, these blacks must risk it all and go to the belly of the earth and dig the gold. We'll have the first right of refusal. That's why the deepest mines in the world is found here. The Western Deep Level, now called Mpone, 5 kilometers deep. And yet we didn't use that expertise to build ourselves an underground. Only the 2010 World Cup forced us to do that. And we became the second country in Africa after Egypt to have an underground. But the technology was there. The holes are already underneath. The third, which is the one that really should make all of us slightly uncomfortable, is that, they can scratch around and find diamonds. Because in Africa, you do surface mining. When they find these diamonds, we will determine the price. Hence the creation of the London Sales Organization. That system we have not broken. And yet we want, after 30 years, to look at these blacks and say, but why are you still poor? Why do you still live in townships? Why are you not living in Branston? It's the system that doesn't make it possible for us. Mohale.
So I guess, thank you. I guess then one will say there are leaders in society that should be able to frame the challenges you have put it. Maybe let's just send a provocation, just stealing from the title of the book that says coming from the cold. What would be your succinct message to leaders who deliberately leave people in the cold while they enjoy the warmth of where they have ascended, saying, I did it for myself, I'm the one that worked hard, and in so doing deliberately leave people in the cold? What will be your message?
The first will be, it's not sustainable for you as a leader to drink champagne when your own people don't even have access to fresh, clean running water. The second will be pain inflicted by your own on your own cuts deeper and stings more. Black South Africans are the poorest, the most unhealthiest, and the ones with the biggest mental issues at the time that we were supposed to be free. Because even when you look at all the metrics and the indices, they tell us so. We have just reclaimed our #1 spot as the biggest economy in Africa. But we are a $400 billion economy in 2025. And I'm rounding off the figures because the exact figure is 388 billion. We were the same in 2016, which then means that actually we have gone backwards. And you measure this by the discretionary purchasing power and disposable income. It buys us less today compared to 2016. In fact, even when you look at our growth has been pedestrian. Last 15 years, we have never grown above 2%. And yet population growth is 1.5. That's why we're going backwards. But when you talk percentages, it doesn't mean much. There's 65 million South Africans. 30 million of them live below the poverty datum line. 28 million of them are on social security. When we took over, there were only less than 2 million on social security. Now we say it and we wear it like a badge of honor at the State of the Nation address and say, no, inherited less than 2 million people. We have put 28 million people on social security. It's an achievement. No, achievement was supposed to have, we should have provided jobs for those people. It's 10 million young people who are not in education, employment, and training. It's 6 million boys that have never seen their fathers. Our unemployment at 33.6% is worse than the countries at war. And even that, it's a narrow definition because it excludes people that have given up looking for a job in the last 36 months. Real unemployment is 46%. 2 weeks in July of 2021, youth unemployment was 74.9%. That's 8 out of 10 young people sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs with nothing to do. If we don't do something about it, not only are we asking for trouble, but we are actively inviting it. Moranak.
But I guess going back to the leaders, it doesn't leave them feeling cold because they're not doing anything about it. Hence my question to you is to say, other than stating the obvious to them, what is it that can be moved in them to actually realize that they have left the majority of the people in the cold?
I think a good example is the Madlanga Commission, because it's telling us what we know. But when you hear it, it still chills your blood. How can it be right that we are spending a whole year talking about Vusimuzi, Ket Matlala, when 52.5% of the population is female, and they're the ones whose positions of leadership in the C-suite is less than 24%, and African women less than 4%. How can we create a society that allows this man to buy one car for 52 million? 52 million, you can buy a company and employ lots of people. 52 million one, and he buys 3, same color, on the same day, and we don't see anything wrong. How can that not leave us cold? But lastly, how do you, as one of the 400 MPs that started with Mandela, now of course it's fewer people, go to the funerals in Soweto, which is bigger than most SACU countries, Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, and Namibia, because all of those on average has about 2 million people. Soweto has 3.5 million people. It's bigger than those countries. And you go there during funerals with your entourage of 10 people, and you see the squalor, the self-perpetuating vicious cycle of abject poverty. How can that not leave you cold? How can you as a president repeat the same promise 3 times, not once, to say we'll build 1 million houses in Alexander, just 2 kilometers across the bridge from the richest square mile called Sandton in the continent? And yet today that area is still no more than 6 square kilometers. And officially it has 600,000 people. But we know that it's approximating 1 million living like sardines. And there is no amount of perfume that we can pour on this rotting carcass. Alexander will always stink until and unless we raise it down and then we build somewhere else. Moranak.
Thanks. When you spoke about the pride of saying we've got so many people in social crimes, you reminded me of a conversation I had with my brother-in-law when a curriculum was developed for the head boys. It was a night curriculum so that they can continue their studies as the head boys. And there was a celebration, and he was the lone voice that says, shame on everybody that still celebrates having young, capable people following cattle around the whole day and only have an opportunity to self-develop at night. He says, I'm not going to celebrate that. Fellowship is something that you speak about, followership is something that you speak about in the book, which also places responsibility and accountability on the people that are being led. I know structurally you have said the system was designed to work against you. At this point in time, outside of exercising the vote, what else, in a constructive way, can people do?
So first, I think we need to be our own liberators. It takes us to the days of Bantu Steve Biko, that black man, you are on your own. That the strongest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the oppressed mind. That the oppressor would not be so strong if some of the oppressed were not helping him to continue oppressing us. At a practical level, at a personal level, what can you do 31 years into democracy when now we are in a coalition with people who don't like us? Not a government of national unity, a coalition. We should call it what it is, not how we are trying to dress it up. With a little agency that we have, when I have an opportunity to hire a garden service, what if I employed just one person and paid them 3,000 a month or 5,000 a month? It's 10 times more than the 350 a month that they queue for the whole day at the post office as social relief of distress grant. That if I have an opportunity to buy a house, do I go to that estate agency and walk around on a Sunday and look for one that looks like me? And I go to Memadi Khesi at the corner and say, I want to buy my house from you so that you're the one that gets my 7%. It's being deliberate. It's being intentional. And the same with a car. I think as individuals, do we even ask ourselves, so after I bought this house, who is the conveyancing attorney that's going to register this property? Because it's your money. Imagine if you said, Ki batla lise humme ntsibeng mokose, so that she's the one that does this for me. Because that's how other nations do. That's what we should learn. Because when you look at why the Jewish people, smallest population in the world, even in this country, and yet they own 80% of the wealth, how do they do it? And the same with the Afrikaners, and like I said, the same with the Muslims. They've got 10 secrets. In the interest of time, 3 of them must keep us awake at night because they ask the question, do you as a family and as a community regularly sit around the table and talk about how to make money? 2, do you as a family and as a community buy from each other and one another's businesses? Lastly, they say, do you as a family and as a community invest in and refer business to each other and one another? So when you have a company that sells insurance, who are you going to sell insurance to? Because it's not the Jewish people, they are looking for their own. It's not the Muslims, they're looking at their own. And it's not the Stellenbosch Afrikaners, because they're giving it to their own, purposefully, deliberately, and consciously. But it says, if you have an opportunity to be an MD in a business, don't be shy about hiring your own and promoting your own, because we really only have 2 options when you are blessed to occupy the spaces that your own people don't ordinarily occupy. The first is continue to be celebrated as the one and only and the first. On the other, you can kick down these doors and bring people that look like you. But imagine if you agitated and orchestrated for business to continue to do well by doing good. That business itself can continue to be a sea of prosperity, an island of prosperity in a sea of poverty. Because when business creates jobs, it's not an act of corporate social investment or responsibility. They're creating the market of the future. And we're reminded of this by the other Sir Henry Royce, to say, is it possible to find something that's already good and make it better? The original Henry T. Ford says we want to create and build cars that our own employees can afford. Because there's always a problem when your own employees can't afford the goods and the services that you provide. But if you're a government employee, imagine if you understood the words public servant, like a public protector. The definition is in the words. And you say the best amongst us lead with a heart of a servant, because servant leadership can't be a leader with many servants. Those are the practical things that I think we need to do. Business can be practical. Instead of giving us platitudes about gender equality and pay parity, Imagine if they delivered social justice. Imagine if they paid black women-owned businesses in 30 days. Imagine if on Monday they said, print me a spreadsheet of how much we pay women versus men for work of equal value. And then they brought a plan to close that gap. Even if it takes them 100 years, at least there is a plan. That's pragmatic. That's what we can do.
Start preparing your questions so that you can get into the conversation. There is a term that is used. I'm going to throw it at you. It will offend you. That's for you to deal with it. And then we'll bring it back in. I think because you come from a very strong family foundation that had very strong women, you are talking from a position of privilege that you can advocate so strongly for women. Have a bit of compassion for people that did not have such a strong family foundation. And also on that note, what's the role of family in society in trying to make sure that not everybody stays out in the cold?
Sure. That's very profound, because actually you hit the nail on the head, absolutely. Because I am a product of privilege. Even though I was born in the dusty streets of Edward, I don't live there anymore. I live in Bryanston. The difference is, what am I now doing with the privilege that I have to do only two things? On the one hand, to improve the quality of lives of the majority of our people. On the other, to ensure a better life for all, not just for elected officials. It behooves all of us. And my response to that will not be empty words, will be a promise, not a threat, that says every single solitary one of the positions where Bonang Mohale has been finally accountable, I've always left another black person. That's the least I could do. So Otis Elevators, 1996, I'm the MD of the world's biggest and oldest elevator company, 222 Marshall Street. I left Sager and Reddy as the MD. Fast forward to Shell Oil Products Africa, where I spent 8.5 years. When I left Ubabuhloni Pizwe Justice Mtolo as the chairman of Shell. I left Meba Brahma Kubedu from Bushbuckridge as the CFO. I left Tabile Mulukume as head of legal. I left Prithni Naidu as head of human capital. That's the least that we can do. At Business Leadership South Africa, I came in and I found 7 white people. Only one was a woman. She was the office manager. After only 3 months, there was an exco of 5. 3 were women, only 2 were men. The other one was Temba Maseko, because they were trying to kill him when he refused to give the budget of GCIS to the Guptas and said, let me give you a job, so that we send a message to the 10,000 other public servants in local government so that they can also speak up, knowing that I'm not going to lose it all. My house, the education of my kids, etc. That's what we did. And there I've left an amazing warrior of a woman as the CEO. Let me accelerate quickly to where I am now as the chairman of the Bidvest Group Limited. Sis Nompumelolo Tembekile Madisa. She's an amazing rock star of a woman. She's only been in that position for 5 years, having delivered her 5th year results. But after only 2 years, she's taken us to 6 other global countries. So now we're a global firm again. And she does this by also giving the biggest dividend this 30-year-old company has ever seen. The first one, to cross the 100 billion revenue mark 3 years ago at 114.7 billion revenue mark and 11.4 billion trading profit. She repeats it the second year. Now we've probably banked 12 billion, which is bigger trading profit than almost a 115-year-old company called Sanlam. And she does it with a board that is 80% black and 73% African women board. So I think we have a responsibility individually, collectively, and severally to do the little that we can do. Mother Teresa, as I end, says, if each of one cleaned only our backyard, the world will be a cleaner place.
Thank you. One of the things that I picked up in the book, which is a window that I don't think you have shared a lot, is how you have structured what one would call generational wealth or legacy, so that the family unit, I'm talking even beyond nuclear extended, is able to have a foundation so that they don't necessarily look for the next paying job, but they are able to have that as a foundation. Why was it so important to you to pretty much have that as a family setup going forward?
Number one, because it became very clear to me early on that I'm okay alone. But in Africa, there is no such thing as a nuclear family. It's family, period. So it's your niece and nephews that will come to you and say, I want to go to the University of Johannesburg. Do you have 800 rand for me to go and register? It's my responsibility. And I knew that on its own, it won't be enough. I mean, I was an MD at 1998. I started working in my 20s. And I said, I need to augment this. Because of a simple reason that we need to build our own business and hire our own children. Because it is madness to continue to make babies and then send them to a different neighborhood for them to go down on their knees and ask somebody else for a job. That's why we are the most stressed people in the world today. Because at work, they are still showing us flames. So with after-tax money, as early as 2002, I said, you know what I'll do? I'll start buying stakes in these companies so that if I invest in 10, if 2 make it, I'll be okay. Because investing is a risk. So in 2002, we bought a stake, to give you an example, of 4%. There were 4 of us. We call it Zwino Investments. Libontate Kehla Shubane. Nkwenkwenkomo, who went on to become the chairman of one of the top 5 advertising companies in the world called FCB. We bought a 4% stake. And collectively, we were awarded a 26% stake. Rabua Lemme Basetsana, Mohale Mele at that time, before she was Basetsana Kumalo, to say we need a group of women who can counterbalance this. It's got by a bunch of men. So they bought part of that stake. And then Raghavan Munsami came with 300,000 people. They bought another third of that stake. 2002. Fast forward to today, the company is probably invested in 9 entities. That 4% stake ended up being an 8% stake. When others sold, we bought them out because Mayor at home said, we don't need the money now. At one instance, we ended up owning 26% of FCB Africa. All of it paid for with after-tax money, with no loan. When we wanted a black MD at FCB, we then said, as a family, can we sell these black executives 10% of our stake and bankroll it? Today, when you go to FCB Africa, now we've put a holding company on top called Nahana. It owns FCB, it owns McCare, it owns the media shop, and it owns Weber Shanduk, which is a PR entity. The black employees who work there own a 10% stake. That used to be part of our total 26, 4, 16, etc. Now we are back to 16, and it gives us a lot of joy. 3 of those companies, 7 of them are not small anymore, but 3 of them we ended up owning 100%, which comes to that point. One of them is a medical equipment company called Talk Medical Supply that we ended up owning 100%. We started with 20% stake, 51% over a period of time. The other one, it's called DG Life. It's a printing company. But half of its revenues, it gets from hiring out forklifts. And one of the family members now ends up owning that. The last one is a stake that we bought in a company called Consulta Marketing Research. It was owned 40% by the University of Pretoria, 40% by the emeritus professor who started this company. We bought a 16%, then 18, then 20. We sold our 4% stake to the marketing director. When the University of Pretoria had an offer of 40%, they came to us as a family and said, you've sat on this board, we think you have added more value than all of us combined. You have the first right of refusal to buy this stake. We bought it. We increased our stake to 60%. Over a period of time, we ended up owning it 100%. So from a township boy who's still an employee up until today, we ended up owning these 3 companies 100%. It's an amazing blessing, of course, all the way from up above. But it started in 2002 with after-tax money, without going to the NEF and lifting your skirt and being asked for collateral or a business plan. Just instead of buying myself a gusheshe at that time, which I would have loved, I stayed with my Toyota Cressida L GVY 379T because I wanted my daughters to have a better life than the one on a composite basis that I was able to build with my lifetime partner.
Thank you very much. So this book, I'm hoping that everybody has got a copy, and for people that don't have it, they need to read it. 2 things it did to me. It was highly, highly inspirational, with a huge dose of being highly depressing. Some of the things that you have put in place, like the way you have structured how the family should enjoy the legacy and so on, we reflect and say, what have I put in place, given the years that I've put in working? But at the same time, the best time to plant a tree is today.
Amen.
If you missed planting it 20 years ago. So I'm hoping that one of the nuggets that people will find is that as you go through the journey, your river might not be the biggest, but it will get water from this river and increase the volume of where you are and actually make you move a little bit further. So it has left me with a lot of homework around what else I can do to make sure that I'm in a position where I can be able to impact others without still having a hungry stomach. I'm going to open it up to the floor, say who you are, and then you can direct the questions to Ntate Bona Mohale. And I do appreciate that some of you may not have read the book, but let's see. I see one hand in front. Can I have that roving mic? It was here earlier.
You can start first. No.
It's I've recognized the hand in front.
Sure.
No, it's coming. Introduce who you are and then the question.
Hi. My name is Sandile Memela. I'm a public servant. And I've been a public servant for the last 20 years. The chair has made a demand for us to think harder before we ask our questions. Now, putting a question to a man who has already answered all the questions makes it harder. But anyway, probably this is just to get you to amplify on some of the things that you've already said. We are in the present of greatness. When one looks around here, these are people who symbolize black excellence, who've made it despite the system. My question is, what is the alternative view or world that we who have made it out of the system are offering? Because I want to take it back to the title, especially the first phrase, coming in. Coming into what? To join who? With what purpose in mind? Because as we sit here, after 33 years, we realize that this system is not transformable. It continues to produce inequality, injustice, and poverty. So, to make it, critics say you've got to compromise your soul. I'm sure there must be people out there, despite your contributions, who see you as a sellout. I don't know if my question is clear, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
It's very clear. Ndiyayithanda ke le ndoda. Uyathetha ngithi wena Tata Memela. Sibambe ngazo zozibini ngokuzithobileyo nongaziyenzisiyo. Let me start with the end in mind. Because it's all within our power. Imagine next year, and in 2029, we just didn't waste this vote that was forged in fire and in blood, sweat and tears. And we voted only for those leaders that will give us no more than 6 things. Number one, who will root out and defeat state capture. Because it doesn't matter what you do. State capture was vicious. This was industrial scale looting. We don't even comprehend how much we wasted. But the piece of work that we did, in 5 years, we stole 1.5 trillion South African rands. To give it context, that's 2/3 of what Edward Kieswetter collects a year every year from businesses and individuals. We stole it. In the 9 wasted years, we siphoned off on average 200 billion rands a year every year just to the 2 Zupta families. I won't even say we could have eliminated the remaining 141 pit latrine toilets just in the province of Limpopo. Number 2, we need to complete the unfinished work of transformation so that this economy looks like us, is broadly reflective of the demographics. Because if it doesn't, these blacks will have nothing to lose. When people have nothing to lose, they ban the only library that serves the 2 townships and the only fire trucks that they themselves know they might need at 2 in the morning. The third, we need ethical leadership, because my grandmother says ethics, it's not what you say, it's what you do when no one is watching. The fourth, we need good governance. Legally, cooperative governance is defined as a separation of ownership from control. People who practice good governance don't steal from the mouths of the babies, the sick and the dying, like we saw during our biggest challenge of COVID-19. During the PPE, when people stole, even sitting in the presidency as spokespersons. The fourth is to demand service delivery, because that's the job description of people who call themselves public servants. Our constitution is the best in the world, not because of what's contained in the main body of the 198 chapters, but of what's contained in the first 1 page called the preamble to the constitution. So the job description of public servants is contained in chapter 194 of the constitution. If they read it, they'll deliver services to their people, because that's the raison d'etre why we go to offices. The last one is law and order, safety and security, because South Africans are not safe walking on the streets because they're exposed. I could almost understand it. But they are not safe sleeping in their homes, their sanctuary, their fortresses, because it's the contact crimes that are increasing. Now we know when police, you call them and say, hey, my husband wants to kill me, could you please come and mediate? They say, no, we don't have a car. Because we know that they are saving people like Vusumuzi Ket Matlanga. At Matlanga Commission, one of the stories that was disturbing for me, it says he opened the curtains and he saw a car parked outside. And he calls the Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department chief. And say, why is this car outside my house? The chief says, I jumped in my bicycle and went to his house. When I was out, we opened the curtains and we saw the car. I put him in my car. We drove back to Ekurhuleni. And on the government system, we ran the number plates. And he says to Ket Matlala, oh, these are the police. They are taking you because you are just about to be arrested. The resources were there. The last story he tells is when they came to arrest him, he calls the head of the Hawks. The Hawks replaced the Scorpions. That had the highest success rate. They come to arrest him. The Hawks came in double the numbers to intimidate the SAPS who were coming to arrest. A helicopter was hovering at low level to intimidate these. Now we have resources, even a helicopter, to protect the criminals. So the people who are supposed to be guarding the guards are themselves not just fraternizing, are personal friends of criminals, of murderers, of gangsters, and drug lords. That's what the late Chekisi Lebi said to us. He said, no, Glenn Atlioti is my friend, finish and clear. All our commissioners of police, only one finished his term, George Fivers. All others didn't. And the root cause is greed. So I think that's what we need to demand. There's always a problem as I end that is chapter when, as a government, we make English compulsory, but agriculture optional, because a nation that does will always produce a citizenry that speaks fluent English on an empty stomach.
Thank you. The next hand is here.
It's not intimidating, but it's scary to listen to the well of your knowledge. And you denied us the presence of Basotos that you had at the Constitutional Hill. I've heard. So colleagues, I will write a book to say I worked with you.
Let's do the introduction. Who are we listening to?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I worked with you, and you remain consistent in your presentation and persona. And I'm glad that the people that are seated here, most of them are following in your footsteps. It might not be as congruent, as visible as it would be, but Chair, I am Vina Maposa, and I work in football. I chase the round ball, and I can commentate better on that, not on this. But I've had the pleasure of transacting with Billy Slekanis here. I've worked with Sandile Memela. I've done lots of work with Sempiwe Masize. You go to the list of speakers here. I've raised authors like Wusipiwe Moyo and stuff like that. So going to my question is the conversations that I've been entertaining with cycles, that wherever you are, there is a contribution that you make. It might not be tangible and seen. But take us from that level of fear of the unknown, of getting into enchanted, areas of making a contribution further than in direct transactions that I've mentioned. We end up working. Someone has to work, but we work to pay bills, and unfortunately, the salary cannot build a legacy. So how do you put this together to assure us that we are in a safe space, and but we must maybe leverage on that to make the impact that you have made? As I close, working with you include you being president of BMF, interviewing me for MD of BMF, and I ran short of Mtunzi Mngani's prowess, and I became second best. So please lay it down for us. We have a fear. We want to make the impact on the family basis, in the business world. And by the way, my philosophy, as much as you've transacted and changed your value into rands and cents, I still believe that there are values that are hidden that are not of rands and cents. That would be the values that we push in the society. That is the promotion of humanity, philanthropist that we push in the society, and have a list of people that have gone through our system to become better and become chiefs of the world today.
Sure. So it's 3 questions. I'll just tackle 2, and I'll combine it with Tato Memela's one, because I was hoping to avoid that one. So the other hat I wear is the Sherpa of the Values 20 as we accelerate towards the meeting of the leaders of the G20. One, because I've been truly blessed to lead not 1 but 3 delegations of business. The first one was Tokyo, B20. The second one is Osaka. And then the last one with the sitting president when we went to the G7 in Toronto. So I was amazed that they got me now out of retirement and said, come and be a Sherpa of the Values 20. Because when all is said and done, values is our true north. This is what helps us to make difficult decisions, especially in the wake of what we're facing these days. And then the values become the lighthouse. And the values are universal. Values of honesty, of integrity, and respect. That's how we were brought up. And that's why people who are brought up come from good families. Even if they are poor families, they don't take things that don't belong to them. They wash their hands before they eat. They don't play next to other children. They play with other children. When they're invited for a meal and there's a payment to be made, at the very least, they pay their portion of that bill. When somebody invites them to lunch or dinner and says, it's on me, they don't order the most expensive thing on the menu. That's just common decency. What needs to be done? I think we run a real risk that we inherited, I said, God's own country. I mean, this country, South Africa, like the continent of Africa, they are not poor, just poorly managed. Not led, because leadership is a higher form of management. Now we stand the risk, based on what you have said, where we are the laughing stock of other African countries. Because Africa taught us 3 things, the rest of the continent. That these Uhuru presidents that stay in power for 40, 50 years are not good for Africans. 2, that even the good guys left on their own eventually become the bad guys. Lastly, that we need a viable opposition just to keep the good guys in check. We are the only African country to be free from colonialism, and we didn't do these 3 things. 1, to substantially increase the education level of our own people. See, you have to love your people to lead them. Even Gabriel Robert Mugabe, after just 10 years of independence, after 1980, they had an 80% literacy rate. Here we're saying 30% is an acceptable pass mark. Isn't it amazing that those teachers that have high expectations of their pupils always do well? The second thing we didn't do is we didn't increase the ownership of the economy by the indigenous people by at least 2 digits. The only country in Africa to be free that didn't do that. The last one, this where really they are laughing at us. We are the only country to be free from colonialism after only 30 years. We voluntarily, no pressure, hand over back power to the colonizers, oppressors, and racists. Everywhere else in the world, white people have never voluntarily given up privilege. Never. But we just did. So imagine, I read the Daily Maverick on Friday, Tatu Memela, and the front page says MK is imploding. Imagine if just one person learned from what happened in Zimbabwe. ZAPU's, Joshua Nkomo, and ZANU's, Gabriel Robert Mugabe. They only defeated Ian Smith when the 2 of them decided to form the Patriotic Front. Even the DA itself is a coalition of Tony Leon's DP and the New National Party. It's a coalition. But if we don't tell our stories, now they tell us that a coalition of the ANC with MK or ANC with EFF will be a doomsday coalition. By whose standard? Doomsday for who? Because the electorate have spoken. So they gave 40% to the ANC. Of course, it's punishment. From 2/3 majority, we increased it to 73%. I'm rounding off the figures when we handed over seamlessly to Thabo Mvuyelwa Mbeki, 72.9%. And then Ramaphosa comes, it's 57.5% down to 40. Of course, it's a punishment, but it's 40%. Most countries in Europe form governments with less than that. MK gets 15%. Between the two of them, 55%. What's their problem? You add the EFF's 11%, which is now down to 9%, it's 64%. They can even change the constitution. So before the MK implodes on its own, today, they don't need anybody's permission. Today, they can combine those seats and go back to why in 1912 the ANC was formed. Why on the 27th of June 1955 we went to Kliptown and signed the Freedom Charter with 10 principles, and the 9th principle says, and the land shall belong to those who work it. We can do that today. But we're waiting to ask somebody's permission, maybe our handlers.
I want to see a round of hands. There's a lady there. I thought you were just holding the mic. I didn't see the hand. Now I see the hand. There's one hand there, followed by the next one. I'm not threatening you, but there's something called cancel culture. I wonder if you are young and you are putting across these strong views, if you will be cancelled by people who saying uncomfortable things. But you are beyond that. Over to you.
Good afternoon, Prof. My name is Ayanda Mafulega. I only know 3 faces in this room, but I can feel that I am in the midst of greatness. I see Babu Pili, yourself, Prof, and my neighbor here who introduced himself, by the way, a few minutes ago. It is an honor, really, to be here today. So thank you for the book, the first one, Lift as You Rise. So just 3 questions from my side. More so out of curiosity, I have not read the book. All I have read is just, the cover page. But I just want to get to Prof as an individual, as a human being. Let me start with a lighter question, just on a lighter note as well, to say, Prof, with all your accomplishments, with all your wisdom, pearls of wisdom that you always deposit, with all your discipline, what could be one probably quick habit or a trait that some of us, will be surprised to know about? That's the first one. Secondly, for me, is because reading in your book seems to be, you also take us where you open, into your private space and vulnerabilities as well. So I just want to, just find out from you, as you are writing this book and opening up yourself, what was, the most difficult truth, that you had to share, and why was it so important that you finally put it on paper? The last one, and I promise, I'm just asking general questions because I have not read the book as well. So the last one will be around your legacy. You are very outspoken as a leader, and you are so unapologetic in your beliefs and your views. So I just want to check for me, like, what legacy would you want to leave? Like, for example, when history looks back and, on your journey, what do you hope it will say that you stood for? I shall pause there. Thank
Yeah,
you.
3. She's greedy, this one. Thank you, my dear sister.
I know it's important for the next people. Please don't follow example. One question. There are many of you. I've seen 5 hands already, but they were short questions, and I appreciate that.
And my answers will be short, Chair. So legacy, that I should be remembered as somebody who tried his best. Number 2, the most difficult thing, when I wrote the book, I wrote the first one and then I told my family after. I wrote the second one, I told them after. But because this is an autobiography, I thought I couldn't. So the first manuscript, I shared it with them by email, and I said, for your input. And I sent it to them by WhatsApp and said, just send by email. Because I'm also talking about them. Especially as an African man, we are told that tigers don't cry. Man up, you know. So here I really wanted to be vulnerable because I wanted to demonstrate to myself that vulnerability is actually a sign of strength, not of weakness. The most difficult thing I had to talk about in this book is money. Because my wife, Susan, hates talking about money. My 2 daughters say we live in a dangerous world. Don't tell people how much money you earn. People get kidnapped. They drive around the whole night with you, and you finish your daily limit on this card, and they keep you in the boot of the car. 1 minute past midnight, then they take you to withdraw next day's limit if they don't sit on a computer to increase your limit. So as a family, we normally don't talk about money. This is the first time ever, my entire working life, that I speak about our investments. I always talk about business, about leadership, about ethics. But to say we've used our after-tax money to buy into businesses, I'm sure you'll be reading it for the that was the most difficult because I know it's uncomfortable for them and for myself. One, because it's very unfortunate that even if somebody is really dumb, but because they've got money, we tend to respect them. Oprah says, if you don't know who you are, money will define you. Your first question, it's probably also not easy. You still remember your first question? Yes. I remember, I'm younger than you, so I remember that. So is that I still take cold showers, even in the middle of winter. If I had time, I would tell you why, but I do.
There's this hand, and then this hand, and then that hand. So let's go. 1, 2, 3.
Dumela Ntate, thank you so much for creating this opportunity, and thanks to Bob Masiza and Speakers Firm and the team at EmpowerWorks. Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to be here. It's a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon, a rainy Saturday afternoon. So much wisdom in the room. The one thing I always dream about when I'm alone, I wish I could throw stats the way you do from my head without looking at any device or piece of paper. So I admire that. And congratulations on the book launch at Constitution Hill. I couldn't see you there, but it was beautiful. And I like the blanket. My question is...
Your name is?
Oh, my name is Milton Nkosi. I'm unemployed. I support Orlando Pirates. Vinny. Where's Vinny? My question is twofold. It's one question. The first half of the question is,
please share with us, if it's not already in the book, what your shortcomings are. Where do you think that you lack? Because we see you, we think you are all-encompassing. We dream of being like you, as I just said. But perhaps because you know yourself better, you can say, oh, if you knew, I'm lacking here. So it's good for us to be reminded that even our best are not perfect. And it's good not to be perfect. Okay, so that's the first half. The second half about imperfection, you just spoke about giving away the power post-apartheid to the colonizers, and why not join MK, parliamentary seats, and so on. Do you genuinely, in your heart of hearts, think that Jacob Zuma, who brought the Guptas here, should be part of a new dispensation in the post below 50% environment? Thank you.
Babu Nkosi, ngiyabonga kakhulu Nkosi yami. Kuthi ayisadla ingalo yonke sindlula ikhanda. Namathanga ahlanzela abanganamabhodo. Ngiyakuthanda Nkosi yami. Kodwa ubobuza imibuzo elula. Yes, I believe he should be. For a simple reason that if I was Madam Elisel Ramaphosa, I would never feel threatened by Gedlehlekisa Jacob Zuma. Because our constitution is very clear. It says, if you have been convicted and found guilty and sentenced to more than 12 months in prison, you can never be a member of the National Assembly. Never is a long time. There's his comfort. So Jacob Zuma can never be a member of the National Assembly. He might send his proxies, it's okay. Yeah. I really believe it. But I believe it for much more profound reasons. Because Chinua Achebe is an author, but a poet. And he opines that he is a fool, he who treats his own brother worse than a stranger. He goes on to say, when strangers fight to death, when brothers fight to death, a stranger will inherit father's estate. He says, a brother that has made a mistake needs to be saved, not blamed. He says, anger with your own brother must be skin deep, never bone deep. I spoke about Zapu's Joshua Nkomo. He says something that came to me late in my life is that it is possible for a country to attain its political liberation without its people being free. Black people are not free 31 years into democracy. That should be the overriding issue. Not the condition that MK said, but you can't be president. So if I'm a leader, for the best of my people, I would choose not to be president. But even that was not threatened in real terms, not nominal terms. But look what we did. So, if we don't tell our stories, other people will tell us the stories. Why was the DA formed? It was formed against Swart Gevaar by white people to say, otherwise they will take over. Now the DA says, we must get together and do this moonshot pact against the ANC. And then it becomes a multi-party coalition after I realized that as a white person, sometimes it helps to keep quiet and let suffering speak. After saying they will be below 50%, the ANC, that's the enemy, cajoles other parties to sign up to this thing. To say, but together will be bigger than the ANC. After the elections, they are the first one to listen to big business, say, go and save Ramaphosa against MK and EFF, in particular, Palapala. And they forget the paper they've just signed. They signed on the MPC to say the bad guys are the ANC. With the other part of the mouth, they say, but our enemy number one is the EFF. Ganja. Ganja. So our constitution says after the elections, we've got 14 days to form government. White people are very good because when they see these polls, they say, it's possible they'll be below 50. They do what is called scenario planning. They went to the bush and said, what does it mean for us? They wrote it down. Then she said, we don't believe it. When everything else fails, we'll invoke the name of Mandela. They got 40%. When they saw 40%, what do we do now? It took them a week to convene an NEC at Birchwood. Week is already gone. But look at how it manifests. They speak with MK for 1 day. You know it was 1 hour. They speak to the EFF for 1 day. You know it was 1 hour. They talk to the DA for 2 weeks. It should worry us. 2 weeks. Because they were determined to have a deal at all costs. After 30 years of being in power, they didn't even build their own Camp David, where you want to discuss something confidential, you get in there, there's no signal, and you can really be confidential. All those 2 weeks of negotiations, they go to Westcliff at Adrian Enthoven's house. Huh? But for 30 years, they've been talking about creating black industrialists. You and I know that during Thabo Mbeki's era, we had what is called Big Business Working Group. We used to meet on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday lunch, and then we go. That's where we conceived the International Marketing Council. And Johnson ended up being the CEO because we said this economy can 10% tourism, and it could be the biggest forex earner. It was conceived there. At the Hook in Mohale. The Hook is owned by Isaac and Kumo Shongwe. It's owned by the black people. You don't even go there. You go to Westcliff. A guy who preceded me here, my mentor, a dear son of the soil, a president of the Black Management, we've never had. Because 4 times we asked him to be president. He said no. Dr. Ruel Jethro Mbambai Khoza owns not one Hoyo hotel, a number of them. From here, Chatswell, all the way to Mpumalanga. You could have gone to him, your very own. You go to Westcliff. For a whole week. Let me end.
Your weaknesses.
Yeah, let me end by saying, and they signed a document that was written by the DA with 3 clauses. The first one talks about this notion of proportional representation. The DA says because you got 40%, you can have 60% of the seats in parliament, you as the ANC. And we as the DA, we have 22%, so we'll have 40% of the seats this side. The second one, it talks about a deadlock breaking mechanism. And the DA sets that at 60% in the case of disagreement. The last one, it says, who's going to have the right of veto when we invite the other parties to join us beyond the ANC, the DA, and the IFP? And these are. So, I genuinely believe that if you put MK in that corner, and the EFF in that corner, and the C in that corner, not only are the 3 of them black parties, but they're from the same womb. They've got more in common than getting into bed with somebody we share nothing in common with. So their chairman of Federal Council says, this is on record. It's clear that the ANC is incapable of delivering democracy. We must accelerate the implosion so that we deliver our own form of liberal democracy. They disagree with us on everything. They've got no demonstrable track record of having worked with anybody or anything. They disagree with us on all the transformative instruments. that are there to change the 400 years of colonialism, 98 years of separate development, and 48 years of institutionalized apartheid. That's why they're taking the NC to court for employment equity. They disagree with us on the Bella Act, ostensibly for just two reasons. Because they want to retain Afrikaans, and they want the school governing bodies to have the final say. Because they don't want classrooms of 90 people. You and I, when we were in matric, not grade 12, there was 80 of us in the classroom. We still passed. Still got first classes. But they disagree with us, not on NHI, because it sounds like big English. The 198 nations of the United Nations call it universal, equitable access to good health care. I mean, who would be against that? They don't want black people in their own private hospitals. They disagree with us on that. They disagree with us on expropriation without compensation, with the full knowledge that the 1913 Land Act was the 10th land expropriation without compensation against African people. My weakness is that I fear poverty, and that's what drives me. My weakness. I lost my mother on the 27th of November, 2015. She was the only parent we had. We buried her on the 5th of December. I'm from a family of 6 other siblings. So 7 of us, 5 are girls and 2 are boys. My family pissed me off so much when we were burying my mother that I didn't talk to them for almost 5 years. And there is nothing that's more important to me than family. But you saw them at Constitution Hill. They were there because I'm coming to my senses.
Question here, there, and then we'll come here. I've seen you from here. Okay. Now, at this point, brief answers.
Kia dumela. Askis.
Not a problem.
He provoked me. I blame him.
The floor is yours. Introduction and then your question.
Okay. Afternoon, on this evening, and thanks, Prof, for the invite, because the first time I saw the invite, I got it from you. Name is Yonela Mbelu. I'm an owner of 3 companies. I work with my wife, and I'm trying to keep a family business and also trying to expand to close friends. Okay, so for me, for being here, the first question I'll have for you, Pro, will be, as a man who's led by God, you are one of the few that who actually walk the talk. Because a lot of our leaders, they know the word, but they do not walk the walk. So for you, the advice you would give to those leaders is what can they do? I know there will be fears, there will be things that will come there. Sometimes you get scared, and sometimes you'll be tempted for things, given things, so that you forget the right way. What can you advise to those leaders? That was my first question. I want to be brief.
You see what you started? Next.
And then the next one will be, I come from a Model C family, so I had some privileges and stuff like that. And when I look at some friends that I meet up with these days and like in our age groups, is you see sometimes the impact of your upbringing, what it has, the way you think, and how you interact with people, how you overcome obstacles. So what can be done in terms of changing our content on TV that is targeted at our people? Because if you see a lot of American stuff is more about I'm the hero, about you being one. And then now we started shifting to Koreans, which they are teaching us about knowing ourselves, like, because we are normally taught to come from outside inwards, but it's supposed to be the other way, where you know yourself and outwards. It's, how can we make a change in those, choosing the programs to put on TV that actually help people to understand who they are, to teach them about themselves, about the history, the values, because the content we see on TV, I don't watch TV because I feel it also has an influence to how you think of the world, the panics you get, is from what you are saying, what you consume too. So what can we do in terms of like fixing that space? Because that space plays a big role in our society. Yeah.
So the first one about being a good Catholic boy. My advice to myself will be, God can't be so unkind as to create a people and put them at the southernmost tip of the continent without any form of faith or worship. There's Christianity. The higher form is called religion. The highest form is called spirituality. African people have always been very spiritual. The second one on content, if you don't know who you are and you don't tell your stories, other people will tell your story for you. Imagine it's your book, you give somebody a pen to write on your book, what will they write? Their story.
You can't have to, don't be that brief. You have become too brief, but you'll expand.
My name is Malizum Tegazi from Mohale, Palm Springs, so I'm a community builder. So you spoke about systems that work against black people. So my question is, what practical steps can a young leader like myself take today to start changing these systems from where we are? Yeah.
Thank you.
So a good example, to show how difficult it is for you to make it as a black person. The biggest investment all of us would ever make at any point in time is a house. And a house is more expensive than a car, except in South Africa. So we bought these houses in townships and then we renovated them. And then the banks conspired to say, because it's their houses, when they sell them, we shouldn't give them bonds. That concept was called red lining. So you build a house for 40,000, 20 years later, you want to sell it, you still sell it for 40,000, if not less, if it's in the township. But yet the people in Leondale and Don Park, where Chris Hani was assassinated, they bought these houses for 20,000. When we bought them, they were 200,000. That's the theory of houses. Even today, when you go to a bank and you are white and privileged, they don't make you lift your skirt and collateral and what. They look and sometimes they give you somebody to help you write a business plan. But if you are black, they look at you with the intention of wanting to say no. 30 years we've been in power, we haven't changed it. The Afrikaners, because they realized that after taking part of Lesotho, the border was the Vaal, to give to male Afrikaners to do farming, they started a bank of their own because they knew farming is risky. This year, you plant and then the rain comes and takes everything. You have no loan to pay. 3 years later, big crop. Then the silos, and you are able to go by. The land bank was created for them because you couldn't go to a commercial bank. Today, our leaders, with all these developmental finance institutions, when you come as a black person, the requirement is more stringent than the 4 big banks. Now, if you include Capitec, the big 5 banks.
Yep. My name is Vusi Nkosi. I am an aspirant industrialist, so Prof, I just have a few words for you. So firstly, let me say thank you for your continued inspiration, always speaking truth to power, words of wisdom. I was at your the first book launch in Sentin that so having watched you from the first book up to now, I mean the theme is also a very positive one. But my question is a very simple one, Prof. How do we take these words and this inspiration, plug it into our kids, to tell them that, you know what, number one, we were able to do certain things with less tools than the ones that you have today. And with those tools that you have today, the world is your oyster. You can do so much so that we enable them, you know, to have a broader view about life. And there's so much despondency when it comes to these children and the youth, especially when you drive around the township and so on, because of the lack of role models that you also refer to. And I'm not sure how we plug those role models back into our community so that, you know, kids could see that it is possible. So my question is, how do we then take all of this and translate it into, you know, a positive attitude of enabling, showing them that this is possible? Thank you.
So maybe the first one is to learn from other more prosperous nations. So when the Indian people are looking for a house, especially Muslims, they buy a shop to trade. And then upstairs is their home. One rent. What do black people do when they want to start a business? They go and open a business somewhere else and pay rent. And then buy a house somewhere else and pay rent. And we are the ones who don't have. The second thing that they do is in that house upstairs, their business. They are there, they are looking after their business. So they can hear when people come to break at night. But it's 3 generations, to be grandparents, the parents and the kids. They don't need nannies and housekeepers and au pairs. So when they work at work, they are concentrating on what they're doing. The kid comes out at 2 o'clock, the grandfather takes the buggy to take the kid. So the values are transmitted from grandparents to parents to children. They're not left to some nyaupe in Soshanguve and Mamelodi. The parents are there to give guidance. They see it. The last is, it's difficult now to even sell education to our children, because when I grew up, the parents used to open the kettle. If you don't go to school, now, I never thought that I will see in my own lifetime the people who are on the top of the food chain as doctors, clinicians, qualified, and they've got the piece of paper, but they can't work because the Gauteng government says, we don't have money to employ you. But the vacancies are there. Because you see, if you steal money, eventually it gets finished. Can you imagine the frustration of the people where they sold 15 cows in Limpopo for you to finish your 6-year degree? You are finished. Now they're looking at you as their last hope. You are sitting at home. You yourself are bloody depressed, suffering from mental issues. But most importantly, you suffer from period poverty. Huh?
Billy? Dr. Billy Silikane. What a pleasure to say that, Dr. Billy Silikane. First, I'd like to honor Bonang. You know, me and Simpio have been in the youth development space for ages. My first seminar in 1980-something, Bonang came. And he's shown such an amazing light in Tembisa that even today we still enjoy the beam of that light. And for that, you're honored, my brother. Well, seeing that we all failed Madlanga Commission and all these commissions, we had a president who said, Bamurumme, but we don't know where Bamurumme guy disappeared into the thin air. I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. Bonang for president, if you were asked by the nation to stand up and lead this nation, what would be the 3 fundamental changes that you would do in this country?
For many years, I walked around here telling people, you love me. Now it's not make sure. So the first, of course I want to be president. of business, not of politics. But because it's hypothetical, let me start. The first thing I would do is to realize that we don't have time. Because next year is local government elections. ANC's 57.5% is 40. They'll be lucky if they get 20. Because remember, the last local government elections, that's where they lost all the metros, 8 of them, which makes the ANC a rural party. That's what happened to ZANU, PF. They are a rural party. So when you lose the metros, you lose the economic muscle. Because the money is in the metros. So I would realize that we don't have time to pontificate and nurse people's egos. I would get onto my bicycle as Matamela and go to Nkandla and say, you are dying, I'm dying. Julius is dying. But the three of us collectively, we don't have to die together. It's what our grandparents tell us, that Hauli Mudisa Uya Meraka. You take the kettle there for 3 months. At night it gets cold and you might die of hypothermia. So you sleep amongst the kettle. They'll keep you warm. They breathe warm air onto you. But if there's 3 of you, you share the same blanket. The heat distributed amongst the 3 makes sure that you survive. If you take your blanket and your blanket and your blanket, they'll find you dead the next morning. It's a lesson that we don't realize in politics. So I would humble myself as a lead, because you see, it must always be one that is the bigger person. The bigger person is the one that has power. So I'll get onto my bicycle and go to Nkandla and say, nina niyafa nje impela niyabona. Nalo yafa. But the 64% we have now, what can we do with the 64% before the local government election? And form a patriotic front of the oppressed. Because 31 years into democracy, poverty still has primarily a black and feminine face. If I had time, I would say, how is it right in a country where black people are 90% of the population that we are still talking about the first black this, first black that? It must be the norm.
Before the next 2 questions, and don't go all the way, because there are people that came before you that have allowed you to be here in your lineage. Just give us a taste of who you are and who those people are that have grounded you and gifted us you to enjoy.
I can see what you are trying to do. I can see through you. But before I never had a formal mentor. But mentors don't have to be formal. Now I'm a product here, the late Maduke Lotindloof. I listened to him on radio, driving to Witbank. I said, I want to be like that confident, eloquent black. I later knew Horiki MD at BMF. He went on to be our president. The people that I've always followed my whole life, from a distance, Professor Lumkile Wiseman Nkul, and by Dr. Ruel, Jethro Khoza. You know, Jethro was Moses' father-in-law. But what we were going to, Kurinakiri Bitolaka Ki Bonang Mohale, Hasuki Mohale Suka Malebanya Sfati, Kimukwena Mukotiti, Kimukhuditono Muhulu, Sokhashaka Mpafatsi, Kwena Jarile Sabatika Mukokotla, Hotuya Sesa Kwena, Yanyulo Hamadiba, Talabudiba, Yaitatika Kalebo, Yarahale Kamu, Hatsekema. Yaklituha rabarabona malomu swimpenza makwala hatetema yale lala sheba udimo rabarabona udimo mahananeng hona mo hudulanteng mo rena le mina ke gagaulane molamu ya tshepe ke le rua la morampokane na ke bone ke banana ke bona ke ditsa digolofela ke mphatlalatsane na le dia meso re bone ka yona re masiwa se a sele ke kgekgediang kgekge se kgetha makgetha se kgethe batho bana ke ba ntatao ba kgale e le kgale ba o tsekisa borena ke lenesa la mmametsi matshwana la mmametsi madidididi metsi a ka thewa thabeng a etsa diphororo ke for peace kgaola dithuta re bona o etsise mmao le ntatao mohlango le mohlatsatsi le leholo mohla o no phaladiswa baloi thuteng tsa modidi ba tauleng mokwena ha matha wa lelala tsepasela shebile hodimo a yo kena ho baholo ba hae baholo bo nte le morinyane motse o senang bonang wa hlora ke le ranthane la ntithia banana ba le pumme ba lahla fatshe ba re sale le tshikisa mokwena na ho tshika wa tshika mokwena mpa sitwa kwa gamolala tshika jwalo ka mmankukune tse tshajwang haholo ke basadi ba ntse ba mpotsa gafetsa Bonang wa ile kae ha se hole sebakanyana a se bohole ba o pala mapere le ba baoto ba ntse ba fihle ho dikoting ka ba ke le bontsha nka kgathala kwa gamonwana le hodimo ho ja wa ngodiswa nka ba ke romela ditlareteng ke dilemo le ngwana mme a ntse a kula ke majantja madimo a ja batho
ha nyibole kwe kaofela.
Wow. Thank you so much. Greetings to you, Prof, and thank you so much for making time with us. Congratulations on the book. As a disclaimer, I haven't really read the book. I would have loved to stand up here having read the book and engage you on what you've invested in that book. But having said that, I've got just one question, not two. You speak truth to power all the time. And yes, you are an academia. I would say you're an entrepreneur, business leader, you name it. But quite often my observation is that wherever you are being engaged, the discussions tend to lean towards the developments in the country's political landscape. My question to you, having continuing speaking truth to power, it hits hard more often to the NC, sometimes the DA. The book coming in from the cold. Don't you feel that on a day-to-day basis when you speak your mind, there is probably lately a tendency or an appetite or an effort to somewhat put you in a cold? If you understand what I mean. When you are with those that are affiliated with the color in blue, there is that. But also when you get a chance to be with those that are in color green and yellow, there is that as well. Because you speak truth to power. For me, continue speaking truth to power. My name is Vugani Mnyandu. Those I come from exile with, they call me Brutus. Thank you.
Oh, because yeah, but we say our constitution is the best in the world. And I said because of what's contained in the preamble. Sometimes I think we don't fully appreciate what that means. One page. It starts with the words "with the people." My words, not the politicians. I mean, that's powerful. It then says, recognizing the past injustices. In the middle, it implores both you and I. It implores and mandates you and I to fix these past injustices. My words, not the politicians. It says it's the best constitution in the world because it rests on 3 principles. The first one, it talks about this notion of a constitutional democracy. If I had time, I would tell you that there are many countries that call themselves democracies. In fact, most countries that have a democracy in their name are anything but. They even hold elections on a regular basis. But at the beginning of the elections, the outcome is already known. Look at how we've coined the two. Ours is not a democracy. It's a democracy on which the supremacy is the constitution, hence a constitutional democracy. The second, it talks about social justice. Sure, it's a pregnant. The last one, it talks about fundamental human rights. There's 30 of them that the 198 countries of the United Nations have enacted. Of course, freedom of expression, freedom of association. Today you can kiss whoever you want, even of the same gender. You are protected by the Constitution. But the one that's less sexy to talk about, it talks about freedom from hunger. You know, the last 15 years of our democracy, South Africans are hungrier than they've ever been.
In terms of time, we'll be concluding the next 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. Dumelang. My name is Kitumetse Ligaba. I run a company called I'm an Entrepreneur. So in my daily life, I help entrepreneurs build and grow their businesses. So let me, Prof, congratulations firstly on the book and on the work that you do. And also congratulations to the speakers firm and SAfm for bringing this conversation to the people, because I always struggle that the conversations stay here and they stay with like-minded people and they never go out. So that's a big step that was done by them. But my question for you, Prof, especially in the entrepreneurial space, we sit in a country where every day youth is being told, you know, start a business, and no one is actually encouraging collaboration. So you see next door there's a person printing T-shirts, next door there's a person doing embroidery of T-shirts, but no one is telling them, actually, you guys can form one business and give people. One, how do we start that conversation? How do you feel we can best start that conversation with entrepreneurs around collaboration, so that, because 0% of nothing is nothing, or 100% of nothing is nothing. You know, at 10% of 10 million is something. So how do we start those conversations with the youth? And in us building these entrepreneurs, how important do you think education is? And particularly formal education, because a lot of youth are moving away from the formal education to be entrepreneurs. So how important do you think that is? And how do we build that culture of education coming from an academic myself?
Sure. Allow me just to answer one component of your question about entrepreneurship. The education one, when we eat, I'm hoping they're going to give us food.
There will be food.
Or at least this corn, man.
No, there will be proper food.
Nakilapi, entrepreneurship. So here's hope. Khaitsediak. Emotswana. Shwe. Mohale ditwa dituta. So not far from here, on the entry, there's a road called the New Road Overpass. It has 2 service stations on either side. We call it a double header. The grandfather is called Mr. Bird. He goes to Johannesburg Council and they give him a piece of, give a piece of land on an 8-year lease on Tuesday. He goes to a company called Chevron Texaco, trading as Caltex. So, with this piece of land, what can you do? And for that 8-year lease, he pays 250,000 rands. They pay him 5 million on Friday of the same week. And they say, we'll build the Caltex service stations. Today they are trading as Astron. Fast forward, their granddaughter manages these 2. Each employs 27 people as petrol attendants. They don't have to manage these people and wake up at 2. Just from the rental, the granddaughter gets 5 million a month. That's what it means to love your people before you lead them. 5 to midnight on the 27th of April, 1994, sneaking queues to usher in our democracy. The National Party went into that election actually believing they are going to win it. Because they say, who's going to vote for Mandela? For 27, we banned this man. His voice is not known. 60% of the population is 35 years and young. Why would they vote for somebody they don't know, they've never seen, they've never heard, let alone an ex-convict? But something says to them, but what if we don't prevail? Say, no, number 2 will be in Kataka Zulu, because it's ours. So they gave farms. Some of them are big name farms today in Stellenbosch gave. You'll hear white people saying, but it's my company. Why should I give 26% to black people? The law doesn't say give, it says sell, for which you get paid. They were given farms. Last one. These blacks fought in the Second World War. Mendy is a good example. In the First World War, they're really good blacks. They were given jars, to thank you for having given almost your life in that war. The better ones were given bicycles. The white male Afrikaners were given farms. We fought for the land. Keep going.
There's a question here, front. Pass the mic. There's a. Okay. Just bear with us. Mic is coming.
Why am I not smelling the food?
Because the kitchen is far. It's a big house.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here. So my name is Chuku Yohana. I'm actually an employee of Cornerstone Financial Services Group, and I'm a part-time student at UFS. So I'm actually not here because I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm here because someone gave me a chance. Someone saw the potential in me, in being here. And for that, I'm truly honored. So mine is not necessarily a question, but it's also to emphasize that as a young person being here, being given this platform, it makes a difference. Despite the systems that are there, like to bring us down economically. So being given that platform, being given a chance and opportunity, and I also want to share that I'm a product of, the remedies and the initiatives such as NSFAS.
Yes.
I'm a product of the ASISA IFA program. Till today as well, as a student of the UFS, I'm a product of the FISA Bursary Scheme Trust. So mine is to say that as a young person, it's very important that we should find ways of making these initiatives sustainable. Because, as I read, the invitation to being here, it said that I was part of 30 carefully selected people. So what I want to emphasize and stress is, what can we do to add one more person to be a part of this? And I'm also a product of positive role models like yourself, Mr. Mohale. And not only that, I look up to people like, the CEO of the Financial Planning Institute, Lilani Bezuidenhout, yes, as well as, Lincoln Mali. So as young people, I believe that we need to share your stories more. And there just needs to be a spotlight on that, so that we can look up to you guys and really just empower ourselves. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, when I get all swabisa, get all kepa when how graduate, get all kepa, yeah.
Thank you.
And then send you to the dean who hoos you, eh? And then I give you a stupid message. That's what I do because I'm your chancellor. When. But on a much more serious note, so
mic, close to the mic.
Sorry, that on a much more serious note, so the council in Pretoria does a piece of work on behalf of the Department of Higher Education and Training when Dr. Bladen Nzimande was the Minister of Higher Education. So they look at 2022. And they say there's 1.2 million of us in the 26 public universities. I exclude the 50 TVET colleges, who collectively would cost 50 billion to educate on a fee-free basis. But if we look at only those who combined household income is 380,000 or less, who are subjects of NSFAS, it would cost 20 billion. But it identifies a smaller problem called historical debt fund. They put that figure at 16.5 billion, 9.2 billion of which is irrecoverable. That same year, 100,000 young people like you finished their studies but could not graduate because they owe these institutions a bit of money. That's the challenge we have. That's why I'm the Chancellor of the University of the Free State, to try and solve some of these problems. If I time out tell you that one of the biggest challenges is to bring about social justice in the assessment of what we call merit in the institutions of higher learning. To bring about ethical frameworks in the way that these institutions are run. So it can be that the Vice Chancellor of Forte doesn't have one, but 6 bodyguards. You are a teacher, why do you, because of the thieves. To bring about public ownership of these institutions of higher learning, because if the public is both the beneficiary and the owners, they'll protect these institutions at night when we're sleeping. And lastly, to bring about a sustainable funding model so that our students are not excluded just because they chose poor parents.
Thank you, Ndate. The last question is going to be right from the back there. No pressure. We want to finish on a high.
Oh, yeah, no pressure. Okay. Ntate Mohale. Le kae?
I'm fragile.
Nna ka leina ke amogetse Felicity Dire. And my question is a bit, it's a lot. Mara ke a go botsa e le one so that ke sa ka o mangwa gore ke boditse dipotso tse dintsi. So I'll just throw a really complex question. So
I thought you were kind.
I am being very kind at this moment. So I've had the pleasure of working with Professor Mushonkondo, the late Professor Mushonkondo.
Oh.
I've had the pleasure of working with Ntate Ruel Koza. I've also worked partly with you as well. And I feel as if, I don't know, it's like there's something in the generation Yalona that is, I don't know, missing from our generation, or I don't know, is it the landscape, you know, socially, politically, economically, or whatever it is, that when I'm sitting with somebody like yourself, or I'm sitting with Professor Mushonkondo, or I'm sitting with that, because, you know, like somebody has achieved so much, and somebody will tell you, but no, in 1982, I was an MD kokai, I was sharing I was doing this, and you are thinking, at my age, if we were comparing what you have managed to achieve as a person, by the time you got to age 40 or by the time you got to age 40, if I look at myself, I feel like, like I'm not doing anything. And it is a general feeling that we all have in our generation in Yarona. It's like we needed to be re-exile, study in Oxford, you know, at some of the universities that, you know, people that we hang around with have been, for us to have been, you know, maybe equally successful, or even just imagine a hem of your garment, you know, of the achievements that you've managed to get to, right? And then, if you layer into it a little bit, in today's society, the equity is you need to have a network of people. You need to have relationships, you know, certain relationships for you to be able to get to certain opportunities. And having said that, I also have to put the disclaimer. I saw the invite and then I'm like, no. If I can have, you know, the opportunity to come and listen to you and support as well. Yes, because yes, I've listened to you speak quite a number of times. So in that being, then there's also this notion that this notion that, you know, black people are lazy. There's this notion that black people don't read. there's this notion that Rona, we just, you know, we look at material things more than, you know, intellectual achievements or things like that. There is all these things that people say about us that are not necessarily true. So, layer that also, if I may, as a, yeah, I'm still young, as a young black woman, there is also these challenges personally, where, you know, we also suffer from, you know, imposter syndrome and not knowing whether you know, you've got the right to be in a particular, you know, place, or not the right, but one understand almost, right? So the question in that being I wonder if there was something specific, or if there is something specific in the political, I don't know, something in the landscape that maybe is very different from how you guys grew up, that has allowed or, you know, made it possible for you guys to make it, you know, to the positions or to the successes, not only just the positions, but the successes that, you know, you have managed to get to. So I'll stop right there.
Thank you. So maybe just two things to save you time, is. The first is the biggest favor that we can do for our children is to finish our own revolution, so that you start your own new wars. Because the most painful things will be to try and finish that which we didn't finish. At the moment, we go in the wrong direction. Yabubedi, because you were philosophical, I'll end on a philosophical note. So if you had to choose only one thing, because if I asked you A or B, you'll say, I'll have A and B. But if you had to force to choose, time on the one hand, or money on the other, what would you choose? Of course, the answer is, it's time dependent, because when you are young, you can do the money. But when you approach 40, like I do, time becomes much more important than anything else. You have been very gracious with your time. I'm touched, humbled, and honored that of all the things you could possibly do on a Saturday afternoon, like snuggling to a significant other, you chose to brave the cold and listen to this township thug, Prof Bonang Mohale.
There's a line in your book, after a long thing, talks about, but I'm leading in the way I know how. I'm inviting others to do the same. You are setting a very good example. Thank you very much for the time that you've given us, that you shared a little bit of who you are, a little bit of who you are becoming. Thank you so much. And we thank your parents and those that came before you, once again, for gifting us you. Thank you very much, everybody, for being around this conversation. They will continue over dinner. As he said, he does not like to be hungry. I don't want you to be hungry. I'll hand over back to Ndade Masisa to close it off. But thank you so much, Ndade Bonang. Thank you.
You made it so easy and so conversational.
Because you told me to do so.
Hey.
Ndade Bonang, there's one last question, that is Chaba, from our partner there, Mr. T. Bambraibi there.
So sorry, Prof. I've been wanting to ask this question to you, but my leader here said no. As a partner, you can't ask a question.
But do.
But quickly, what would you tell your younger self now in relation to leadership? What do you know now that you wish you would have known 10, 15, 20 years ago as a leader? And secondly, what elements of ethical leadership do you think is lacking within leaders within private and government sector within our country at this point in time? Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimo Arab. Ka Sesotho ne ke tla mo sheba ke re, ha ke se gore ke mo roa ke ka efe tlhapa. So first I would say to myself, and I take from me, be happy with yourself and live in the present. Develop close, personal, intimate relationships with other human beings, not with things. Everything in moderation. Leadership is about many things. It's about a compelling vision. It's about courage. But it's also about integrity. But I wanted to end with 3 different things on top of this. Many people think that being a leader is being in charge and calling the shots. I think being a leader, number 1, is to liberate the people that you work with, not those who work for you. To be that which they never thought is possible. Number 2, to then invite them to help you co-craft and co-create a new vision. Because in the case of South Africa, the last 30 years have shown us that that vision has not worked. Lastly, then your job as a leader is to articulate this vision, which is not yours, has been co-crafted and co-created by others. So eloquently, so vividly, in such a way that it takes your people to a place where they've never been.
Power. Yeah. Can you give Professor Bonang Mohale? I think we can do much better than that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. When I spoke to you, I think a few weeks ago, when we invited you, you then said to me, Masiza, weekends are forbidden fruits, dedicated to my family, but you made an exception today. And
because I love you.
I love you too. I love you too, Prof. Thank you so much for taking time. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let's give once again that Professor Bonang Mohale and to Ntetis Chaba, Chumiaka, Motswale Watloko ya Kgomo. Thank you for facilitating this conversation. Such a seasoned facilitator. Thank you, Chumiaka. Much appreciated. Dr. Billy Sindikan, my man. I've known this guy for almost 8 years. Yeah, we started in business on this, during same years. When I was, running Reachon as an MD, he was running his own as a speaker, and since then we've been friends until today. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen, Bilisto. Amen, Bilisto. My man. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's here. Thank you to SAfm, our media partner, Mr. T. We really appreciate you, my brother. Also extend our gratitude to the group executive, Ausnada. Ntate Banele is still here. Yes. Can you stand? Thank you so much, my brother, for making this happen. We really appreciate. Andile, acting program manager, we also please do extend our gratitude. We are here on Thursday. We are fully subscribed. We're having Lincoln Mali is here on Thursday. And also with Datem Teto. They're here. Actually, both of them, they won the awards. The other one, the Business Man of the Year, and the other one, the Chairperson of the Year. They will be here, both of them, on Thursday. SABC, SAfm will be here again on Thursday. Please, those who have registered, make sure that you're on time. We're starting exactly at 6 p.m. on Thursday. Can I just ask the Empowerx team so that the Kabatseba Gaufela just to come let's come and recognize you so that they know who Kashifa there, she's a lead. Digital, when you see all those nice writings, give credence, to Kashifa. Umchino Ichenchai. And then And then we have Pony. She's our chief of staff. She's the one that runs the operations, but also responsible with Nevo for coordination of this platform. Real Lebocha, me Pony, Maponya. And then I think we all met Ausimbali. She's a lead for Empower Youth. Please, as a brand, as an entity, if you want to partner with us, we're going to play a video. It will take a minute just to show you the scale and the impact of what we do around youth in creating opportunities for young people. Please do talk to her. You know how you partner. We have worked with a number of organizations. As I said, last year, up to date, we have impacted close to 200,000 young people. We're going to play a video, and then I'll call the head. Then I'll call the head, Speakers Firm, just to do vote of thanks for 2 minutes, and then Prof Bonang di jodi teng.
Yo!
Yeah.
Relief.
Then we're going to have food. We can just make sure that we network. Here's my ask. Buy as many books as possible. Let's support one of our own. And I've said this, when we hosted Professor Mandla Hadebe, almost 3 months ago, one of my colleagues was sitting here. They bought 400 books because he works for a particular university. He said, look, this content must be consumed by my students. Buy as many books as can. If Empower works, as a small agency or a small firm as we are, we're able to buy 40 books. Please, you can do better than that. I know some of you have budgets. You're running 8 companies. Bill, you are an international speaker. How many books you can buy? I am an entrepreneur. Milton and Ghost. Milton and the entire stock. I won in there. Just buy as. Look, we have a bookshelf here. We buy as many books, and we buy from our own. I think if we could do that, let's buy as many books. Even on Thursday when we come, Lincoln Man, then we're going to have Tebe Kalafeng here. It's also oversubscribed. We're bringing again Professor Ruel Kosa. He's coming with Professor Tinyiko, VC TUT, and also thanks to Felicity for making that happen. Let's support our own. And follow us on socials, the Speakers Firm, to get more details. I'm going to play this to take a minute just to give you what we do around Empower Youth, and thereafter I'll call. And then after that, I'm going to call Nawa just to do a vote of thanks. And Spile, thank you, my brother. Thank you, Alfie Maposa. I've known this guy for 30 years also. I've never thought in my life I would say that I've known people for 30 years. What I've seen is that, Manyakas, they used to say, hey, Masiwe, POS, what's up? And then Maui about, hey, Khrotmane, what's up? But manje about, hey, timer. And then we are born. So to hey, but them Kulu. Then we are born with Siakokas. But I've never thought that I would say I've known somebody for 30 years. When I grew up, I say, hey, Malaman, but Kukile, 30 years they've known each other. Like now, and I've never thought that I'll reach a level where somebody on a 50 or 60 and say, but they're still young. Every realize you get to the point, they say, I'm married, you're not 50, still young. Like say a consola, like it's a Kukile Makenga, yes. But let's play the video a minute, and then we're going to hand over to Neo, our talent manager.
41,000 to a staggering 4.9 million people out of work.
And how many already sounding like such a positive thing? The Armstrong Empower Youth Transformation Program.
It's a youth movement by the name of Empower Youth.
Before the end of this year, 2023, we will have visited the Eastern Cape, the Northern Cape, the Free State, and we will be left with one province to visit, being the Western Cape.
The aim of Empower Youth Week, which is such a progressive initiative that is aimed at advancing the interests of young people.
We need to create, we need to support these platforms everywhere where there are young.
You need you to dream. You need you to get employed. You need you to start a business.
Thank you. Powerful stuff. Please talk to us. Mbali is here, and if you want to partner, we're starting Koval next year from March, and then we're moving around the country. We're starting Koval come March, and thank you to some of our confirmed partners for next year. Our aim is to impact again 200,000 young people next year. Please talk to us. Mbali is here. Mbali imabakbone. Nyambono Mbali. Kumbola, thank you so much. Now you can come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Good afternoon to everyone. Properly introduce myself. My name is Nell. My other name is Given. I'm a nice gift for my mom. I will tell you why. It's my birthday month. I was born on the 26th of November, and hence the name Given, because Thanksgiving time. So I was born on a sunny Sunday morning, 26 November 19. I really want to just stand here and thank everyone who has made time. The weather was not giving today, but just to see you sitting here and taking in the atmosphere and the mood. People come into our office, they kind of ask all the time, because hey, the atmosphere here is so nice. If you had come earlier, we have a gentleman, Tabiso, who takes care of this yard. The fire was hot and blazing. This chair could not even sit here at that time. That's the kind of atmosphere we set here. We set an atmosphere of hard work, but also we get time just to sit back and enjoy the space. And we are glad that you came into Empower's house just to have this family moment of sitting around the chair and breaking bread together. Today I definitely could see with the questions that bread was broken and a platter was shared amongst us. And really thank you for taking the time. Above and beyond that, I want to say something about SAfm. There's a part where it says driving exponential growth. Driving exponential growth. We are not adding, we are exponentially growing the talent we have on our books. And I think people by saying maths, people who do mathematics, they know it's x to the power of n. We are that n. Yeah, we are that strong power, that entity that is here to making sure that we amplify the voice and we push the narrative of change in industry. That's what we stand for. It's not just another booking. When you go to our website, it says it's a conversation. So we are here to stir up conversations that really change the narrative in industry and the likes. So that's what we stand for. So I really want to thank my team. I want to thank them for, we are going through a big change. We are pivoting. We are taking off. There's that, when a plane is taking off, but there's a point of no return. When a plane gets to a point where it is taking off, you can't turn back there. You have to go up. We are at that point as a SAfm. We are pushing up. And we are glad to have people in the house that stand with us. And I want to thank Professor Bonang to be there as a voice that is bringing that kind of change. I want to thank Dr. Billy. Thank you so much. Who's been Dr. Billy. Guys, I'm being corrected. Correction, Rab. You remember 1980 Mang were corrected, double line corrections. So I'm correcting Dr. Billy Slikan. We honor you. I want to thank Tate Milton. Thank you so much. You know, there is these people that you know, when you look back, because Speakers Fam, you're going to see them. I really want to honor these people and say thank you for being our pillars at such times. I also want to thank my boss. Can I call you boss today? I want to thank my boss for seeing the vision in this space and for seeing a gap and for able to answer to the call. It's not an easy thing to do such a work. Sometimes people don't celebrate you enough, but I think because I see and my hand is really right now in the drive of things, I'm really seeing your vision. I'm getting to understand what you want for this country. This is not just another moment. It is impactful, but it's impact with purpose to understand where we are going as Speakers Fam. That's what we are here for, so I want to thank you. I also want to thank SAfm. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, thank you. Thank you for seeing us. Thank you for taking a moment, Mr. Anthony, to sit and listen. Thank you for your team. Thank you, Andile. I don't know where he is. Thank you, Andile. Thank you so much for taking my calls again and again and again. And I call you for sometimes petty things, but you still answer me back on email with such professionalism. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the team that we met when we go for interviews. Guys, do log in, do go on Takeover Tuesdays. We are there. Speakers Fam is very strong there. So go on Takeover Tuesdays. We have voices that are coming. On Tuesday, Lincoln Mali will be online from 8 to 9 to log in. The conversations are going in. Speakers Fam is being represented. So we are doing it. We are doing it. There'll be more of those. Just watch the space. So thank you to SAfm. Thank you for your tireless work with us. We can see that 2026 is going to be amazing because we've got a partnership that is making sense in our space. I also want to thank Ndates Chaba. I know he's outside somewhere. I really thank him for being there. Oh, hello, Ndates Chaba. I want to thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing conversations together. Thank you for driving change. Thank you for making the pertinent questions to come into the room for us to deal with them now. We're at a time as a country where we really need to answer questions. To hide under the sofas and like ostriches to shove our heads in the sand won't help us. And to have a person who's a catalyst in the room who's able to drive that is really important. Thank you. We appreciate you saying. And last but not least, I want to thank a simple person. I want to thank Romeo. Romeo, thank you, man. Guys, all the pictures that you see, all those little captions that you see on our website, go to our website, go onto our pages, go to Facebook, follow us on Facebook. Please go on LinkedIn, we exist. Go on TikTok, we exist. Go on YouTube, we are there. Please go on LinkedIn. Go on LinkedIn also. And Instagram. Please go there and see us, follow us. And our website is www.thespeakersfam.co.za. You might see your face because Romeo might have captured you. So just go and check if you've been captured at some event. He's an amazing photographer and I appreciate him. Do visit our pages. There's a lot of content that we have posted there. This is for you. This is for your benefit. It is really not just for show, but it's because we want to make an impact and a change in your life, especially as a person who's in business and who's in leadership. We are pushing that narrative in that space. Go visit us, invite your friends to follow us, invite your colleagues, invite your bosses at work to follow us so that we can keep this wheel turning. But beyond and above that, I want you to sit back, relax, enjoy. There's food outside that is going to be served. We can just step down and have a bit of a bite. And also, thank you so much.
I guess that's it. We can just have lunch. Books. My assumption is that we all have a book. Who doesn't have a book, my brother? You don't have a book. Dade Bonang has already signed the book. Just have your book. And then, just give him and then bring the rest to me. Thank you so much once again. Lunch, or is it lunch? Whatever. Supper is served. Early dinner.